Followers of Rafe, breaking the guidelines to be with your Valentines, no doubt. How are we? I hope you're very, very well. I am very, 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 very well because the day has finally come. And, you know, if you play your cards right, hopefully so will you. Cupid, of course, has shot his arrow through the highway of lockdown. It is Valentine's Day, and spirits are absolutely in the sky. Here's a picture of Blojo, very shortly after Carrie agrees to anal. And as you can see there, he's absolutely thrilled. I brokered that deal. I'm there in the foreground. And hopefully she doesn't pull out. I mean, he may pull out of her, or maybe not. I mean, it's Valentine's Day. You know, do whatever you like. So, Don's the news. Hugely excited to announce that my proposal of 10 years in prison for avoiding the Quasar hotels has been implemented. Say you're in Magaluf, but then, no, sorry, you were in Magaluf and then say you weren't, you get banged up, possibly for the second time that holiday, if you've been very, very naughty. But yeah, I mean, it's obviously a great move. Bit of an odd one for Matt Cock in his hands to back, given that, when this is all over, he will literally be in prison with the people he's banged up. So hasn't really thought that one through. And to be honest, the number 10 WhatsApp has been absolutely popping off. That one. In fact, fuck the graphs this week. Let's just show you the WhatsApp zingers because there are so many of them. So you get the WhatsApp up there. Fucking insane. Look at that. So he's shitting himself. Classic line. Hughes always comes in with the goods there. Absolutely great. He works in the social media department. Really, really strong stuff. And then there we go. Yeah, Bully Patel coming in at the end with an absolute zinger, as she always does. I mean, she really is quite a lady. Classic stuff from the Bully. Anyway, me and Hugo really ran with that premise, and we got to work on quite a lot of good stuff, and there are some really, really entertaining Photoshops that we got in place. So the first one there, you can see that's Matt Cock in his hands being sentenced. Is he pretending to cry? Probably not. I mean, he's probably actually crying there. So that's that one. Then we move on to the next one. That's Matt Cock in his hands being arrested by Bully Patel, or maybe he's being pegged. I don't know. It's up to you to decide on that one. But then the final one, the real piece de resistance that I'm particularly proud of. Is this in the showers? I mean, it's just, look at his face. Look how happy he is. Maybe it won't be a bad move for him to go there. But look, if you're a dab hand at Photoshop, do get in touch. Do send us in your Matt Cock in his hands photo submissions. They'll be very, very gratefully received. And as ever, as these are interactive press conferences, do ask your questions about anything you want to know. That has to do with number 10, or more broadly about whatever. It's Valentine's Day. Ask whatever you like, and also click on the Zoom link and you can come and chat to me live, which will be very, very, very classic. We had loads of people on there. The more the merrier. Join the party. Anyway, sorry, one thing I will say on that finally is that a lot of people are worried. They're like, shit, when he's in prison, is Matt Cock in his hands still going to get to be grilled by Piers Morgan? Yes, because Piers Morgan has got a series with Netflix. It's called Killer Politicians. And Matt Cock in his hands will be on episode 1. So that will still happen. We'll still get the pleasure of seeing him arm and out like he's being wanked off on a Japanese game show. So yes, right. Obviously, the headline figure of 10 years of pleasuring Her Majesty for going abroad. Doesn't mean eating out to help out the Queen. It means to be in prison. Has been implemented. So we need to sort of clear up exactly what that means dans le practice. So here are a few case studies. We thought we'd do that to explain it best. So number 1, if you get next slide, please. Yeah, this is Hugo. So Hugo spent 8 days on safari in Botswana, shooting game and not being lame, classic. But in the face of the judge, Hugo's defense was actually not Swana. I was at London Zoo. Now, 10 years, Your Honor. Well, hang on a second, chaps. I mean, Hugo, as it turns out, is a great chap. And was, very instrumental in providing £30 million worth of faulty PPE at the beginning of the crisis. So no, Hugo will not be going to prison, but will instead be given another government contract and an MBE in the New Year's honours. Lovely. So if you go to the next slide, please. The next slide is Chantel. That's Chantel. Chantel has visited her dying mother in Mexico in order to say her final goodbyes. In the face of new international variants threatening our vaccine rollout, this is obviously completely unacceptable. Chantel will be sent to prison for the maximum of 10 years. We'll be breathing a sigh of relief. Do you see the back of her? Finally, we go on to the final slide, please. This is Marcus Rashford. Now, he hasn't actually traveled abroad or done anything illegal, but we will send him to prison anyway because he's a fucking dickhead. So now we've broken the hymen. Who's going to be the first to penetrate the proverbial vaginal canal? Laura Kingsburg.
How concerned are you about the potential of the variant that's been picked up in Bristol?
Yes. Well, I mean, we've certainly all caught dodgy variants in Bristol at garage raves over the years. But look, I wouldn't overstate the Bristol problem. They're Bristol variants. They're not even Durham variants, right? I mean, if they're Oxford variants, then yeah, that would be cause for concern. They'd be the best variants in the world. But fundamentally, Bristol variants try hard, but they never apply themselves enough to ultimately do anything in the real world.
Oh, it didn't answer the question.
Wait, sorry, what, Laura? What? I think you'll find I didn't answer your fucking question. And have some respect. You're a woman, you're a journalist, right? You're paid by us, mate. You're on thin ice. We will turn off the money tap. So, sorry. Next question, I believe, is Ian Richards from The Times. Ian Richards.
Thanks very much. Public Health England has confirmed to us today that what looked like really positive data on vaccine efficacy in the real world in the UK vaccine rollout. Are you encouraged by how well the vaccine appears to be working in that early data?
Yes, well, that's a very, very interesting reference to the real world, which of course exists as any Platonic scholar will tell you, in opposition to the theoretical world or the noumenal realm, I believe, as Plato sets out in either the Republic or the Timaeus. You have to forgive me of being a little bit sloppy on my Platonic references. I'm much more of an Aristotelian scholar than a Platonic one, but I do have a very good working knowledge of the Republic. And I would say, fundamentally, are we pleased with how vaccines are going out in the real and theoretical worlds? Yeah, absolutely. Vaccines, yeah, all is good. All I'll say is, I suppose you could say we've got our Plato full as far as vaccines go, and we're knocking down like Carrie on a Thursday. So I believe Zoom. Yeah, there's the Zoom link. The Zoom link is available in the YouTube chat if you wish to continue to answer questions. So please do press that. Oh, sorry. Blojo, how are we? Yeah, very well. I think she did it. Classic. Yeah, all right, mate. Good luck with round 2. Yeah. I'll chat. I'm doing the conference. Yeah. All right, mate. Yeah. Sorry. Oh, sorry. I should quick mention from the top. I should stress that quick bit of intel on me. I am yet to tie myself down to a Valentine this year. Obviously, if you're in Clapham, you'll have already swiped right. If however you're from further afield, do try your luck with me tonight. You can do that over Zoom if you follow the link. And seeing as it's Valentine's Day, yes, I'm here for COVID, but I'm also here for Cupid. So I'm up for anything. So yeah, shoot your shot, have a go at the big dog on Zoom. I mean, it'll be a bit like blind date, except I will need to see you, obviously. And God forbid, going on a date without knowing what someone looks like. But yeah, feel free to ask about whatever you like. COVID, politics, relationships, extramarital affairs, or whatever. I believe, and sorry, of course, as I'm being reminded in my ear, you can also ask a question in the YouTube chat box if you're a Westie and don't want to ask one. Angela Channel has a question. Angela.
Hi, Rafe. Yeah, I was one of the lucky 500,000 Brits to get their vaccine on Friday. And yet I have not, and still have not, been told that I was a very brave little girl. Firstly, was this an isolated incident? And secondly, what is your government going to do to rectify the situation?
What you say? You haven't been told you've been a brave little girl? Was that?
No, not once. No sticker, no lollipop.
Well,
it's appalling.
listen, Angela, you'll be a brave little girl if you spend Valentine's Day with a big dog. Let me tell you that for sure. Many are trying. The list is really, really increasing. No, that's great to hear that you've had the vaccine. Who administered it? Was it one of the good guys, or what was it? Just a GP, or what happened?
Yeah, and just circling back, with the Valentine's Day situation, would I get a sticker for that?
Listen, we have. I mean, yeah, it's certainly an idea. We can certainly look into. To be honest, there are contracts to my mates that I would love to send out. So maybe we could get a sticker contract going, get a load of cash out that way. 30 mil should probably cover it. So yeah, I mean, I think that makes absolute sense. And we would love to do that. So yeah, I will definitely look into that. And I'll probably get around to it, if not Monday, at some point in the future. Rory Scarlett asked a question in the YouTube chat box. Rory Scarlett says, you only have 2 Union Jacks. Do you even like Britain? It's written Kike Britain. Presumably he's in an absolute cocktail mess of drugs at this point in the evening, presumably a northerner. Do I even like Britain? Yeah, I absolutely love Britain. And I've said this many times before. I think we need to spread Britain, over the world. I think the empire was one of the most amazing things. We still have the railways; they were great, and we need to try and do that again. I think that would really solve a lot of issues at the moment. So we love Britain. We're super keen to keep spreading what we do. James Spice has a question. James, over to you. James.
Yes, Rafe. How are we?
Very well.
Rafe, very well. I have 2 questions for you. So firstly, I've got a hinge date in CJ. How could I not break down rules? And secondly, does Blojo have any top tips?
Well, James, firstly, thank you very much. This is a question very much after my own heart, or indeed gland. How are you going to get around it without breaking lockdown rules? I mean, if you're sufficiently well endowed, then you can make sure that you still meet up with other people whilst not breaking the 2 meter social distancing rules, which is how I've been operating a lot in lockdown. Does that apply to you? Does that apply to you? Do you have a big top?
So. Yeah, we'll go with it.
He's bashful. I guess the answer is no, but that's fine. There are other ways to get around it. But fundamentally, what I say about Blojo's tips, I'd say go for married women, to be honest, because it's a bit naughty, it's a bit crazy. So that's definitely a tactic that you should apply for women as well. So if you're sufficiently well endowed, it's great, and go for married women. Thanks very much. I believe we've got a question from Lucy in Clapham. Lucy in Clapham has a question. Lucy.
Thanks, Rafe. So you said you're going to announce a roadmap out of lockdown on the 22nd of February. Do you still intend to open schools on the 8th of...
Fucking hell. Look at you. Jesus Christ. Very nice. God, I'm taken aback. Very. I'm from Clapham. God, I was surprised not to see you on Tinder Gold earlier today. On the issue of schools, I mean, we're very committed to it, definitely. I think we should definitely look to open them at some point, probably the 8th, but, who knows. I hope that answers your question. Probably that's a code red. We've got to get her over here. That's an Uber, or Uber Lux, I don't care. Okay, yeah, great. Alex Robertson asked a question. He says, what do you think of the claims that government taxes have been inspired by Tony Blair's ideas? Well, yes, of course. I mean, obviously the Conservative Party has a long history, and Tony Blair's involvement being a very prominent aspect of that. I mean, we always try to look at previous stories, particularly with Thatcher, with all the food stuff. That's who we've really predominantly been taking inspiration from there. And then, you know, Tony Blair, you know, yeah, in terms of our relationship with the banks and the jolly good chap. So yeah, we absolutely have been following Tony Blair's lead. He's a jolly good guy and a great Tory, and he always will be. Do keep putting your questions in the YouTube chat box, and I shall endeavour to answer them. And go on to Zoom. It really is jolly good fun. Peter has a question. Peter on Zoom, I believe, has a question. Peter. Peter's camera doesn't work, by all accounts. And indeed, all this is audio, it would seem. Maybe Gavin Williamson was behind that. Or Peter's died. That's fine. Okay, who have we got next? Gary Smith has asked, is it 10 years for going abroad? And does that include Scotland and Northern Ireland? Well, mate, if our relationship with Scotland goes any further down the shitter, then possibly yes, because Scottish independence is very much a frightening prospect that seems to be looming on the horizon. You know, and the problem with that is that, you know, Nicola Sturgeon seems fairly immune to my charm, which I have to say is a very odd occurrence. It's one I've never experienced before. I mean, I try and throw out a load of jokes, call her a Scotch egg, you know, say she's miserable, ask her how her son Andy Murray's doing, and she just doesn't bite, you know. So I think that, you know, the right tactic is just for me and Blojo to go in harder with our hilarious jokes, you know, get a whoopee cushion in or some shit like that. I don't know, and she will eventually, you know, she'll come around. You know, everyone does ultimately. But yeah, so you know, it depends what goes on with Scottish relations. I think they'll improve. The charm offensive will continue, and you'll be fine. So in likelihood, no, it will not be 10 years, basically. And I can almost certainly try and guarantee that. Sarah Matthews has a question. Sarah.
Oh, Rafe, my camera's not working. I'm so sorry. My question is...
Another Gavin Williams case.
So sorry. Priti Patel this week called the Black Lives Matter protests dreadful and said that she wouldn't take the knee. And I want to know, how do you respond to these comments as spokesperson for the Conservative Party?
God, yeah, thanks for the question. God, yeah, Black Lives Matter. Yeah, super important issue, 100%. I mean, what would I say actually? God, I think, well, you know, for starters, I think protest is very important, and we can't sort of shut protest down. It's absolutely key. You know, when I was in Oxford, we actually protested about the Cecil Rhodes statue at Oriel, you know, to keep it up, obviously. So, you know, it's majorly important that right remains. But yeah, you know, I'd say we're really for Black Lives Mattering. You know, I personally love Black people. You know, I love the music of Stormzy. Idris Elba is a great guy. You know, would he be the next Bond? For me, no. You know, that's not what Ian Fleming wrote, is it? But if you were made the next Bond, I wouldn't protest or complain. So, you know, live and let live, or live and let die in this instance. But, you know, to racism and for people who are anti-Black, you know, in the words of Stormzy, I would say, you know, I rude boy, shut up. You know, some of my best friends have blacked up. So, yeah, and I haven't used the M-word in years. So, you know, I think in reality, yeah, Black people are great. I respect them, and you know, we are very supportive, and we have a really good relationship with them. So that would be my response. Yeah. Jamie from Newcastle has a question, I believe. Jamie.
Rafe Hubris, chatting shit but looking fit. How are we?
Christ, Jamie, what drugs have you been taking? I'm very well. Have you got any? Have you got? Was there a question, a substantive question there, or is that just a sort of?
How are we?
Yeah, no, very well, mate. I'm still, you know, hoping that we'll get, you know, some Valentine's requests in. Anyone wanting to shoot their shot? I know probably a lot of people are intimidated because fundamentally they're like, you know, he's a big dog. He works for the government. He's incredibly good looking. You know, he's like a sort of a young Roger Federer in many respects, and you know, people like that have an aura, and I totally get why a lot of people are sort of concerned. But you know, I don't bite unless that's what you're into. So do get in touch? Is kind of what I would say. Okay, we've got a question from Pacer57 Train that says, hi Rafe, can you confirm or deny Dominic Raab's suggestion on LBC this morning that we'll need a vaccine passport to enter shops, etc.? Yeah, good question. I mean, I think it depends on the shop in question. I mean, if you're going into something like Ann Summers, that obviously is important because you might, end up spreading your DNA all over some of the products. But if it's something a bit more hands-off, then maybe it is a little bit less essential. But I think, the important thing as well is, what color will the passports be? I think that's fundamentally one of the biggest issues. Will they be black to show our solidarity and our, undeniable history of support of the BAME community and the Conservative Party? Almost certainly yes. Or shall we make them multicolored, to show our huge support of the LGBTQ plus community? I don't know. But either way, we will make sure that we sort of stick in with our woke values. Robert from Andover has a question. Robert.
Evening, Rafe. I want to know, what do you think about this Dr. Joss Andrade, I think that's how you say her name, who's got 17 million views on TikTok for saying sleeping with your socks on gives you a better night's sleep. Do you sleep with your socks on?
Well, I mean, it depends how you define the term sock. I mean, because I suppose in a very real sense, Robert, a condom is a sort of penis sock. Not that I necessarily sleep with one, although I sometimes do. Listen, I think I'm all for doctors going viral. Chris Whitty obviously went viral being harassed by a child a couple of weeks ago, I think last week. And we're looking to get him sort of viral for the right reasons, doing some sort of rap or a striptease. I believe that's sort of what's as particular currency at the moment on TikTok. So, if we can make that happen, that would be fantastic. But yeah, no, I don't have a huge degree of, huge wealth of knowledge on that one. But I would say if you don't want to have a child, put a sock on your penis. That's very important. And that goes out to the Prime Minister as well as anyone else. John from Luton asks, what's the best Valentine's night you've ever done? I mean, interestingly, I don't know if you could do a Valentine's night, but certainly the best Valentine's night I've ever had. Well, I mean, I don't know what's going to happen on this one for starters. Maybe I'll fall in love. I mean, I've never been in love before, but I mean, I imagine it's like, running a 17-minute 5K and doing a line of £100 gag. I mean, if anyone's on Love in this school, I imagine that's how it is. A couple of nights ago, I did manage to, me and Blojo we were out in London and we were at a party. There were sort of 5 to 6 women ahead. And let's just say it ended very, very well. So I think that's all that needs to be said there. Sally Burkow, potentially John's wife, who's to say, Sally Burkow 292 asks, what is Carrie and Bojo doing for Valentine's? Goodness gracious me, what an interesting semantic mismatch we have this evening. It may be Valentine's Day, but that's absolutely no excuse for poor grammar. What are Carrie and Bojo doing for Valentine's? Well, if you were listening earlier in the call, we did share the picture. I don't know if we can share it again. Carrie and Bojo will be having a special Valentine's treat. I believe we can share the picture. I believe it's on the screen. It'll be on the screen instantaneously. Blojo is absolutely thrilled when Carrie agreed to a special Valentine's treat. Look at him. He's fucking loving it. So I think that's all I really need to say. But yeah, as a Valentine's treat, he's agreeing not to sleep with anyone else, which I think is really sweet. Martin Main has a question.
I'm on mute. There you go. That's good. So are there any dares that Matt Hancock won't do?
Are there any dares that Matt? Well, I mean, I don't think Matt Hancock's choice really factors in, Martin. I have to say, very often he's just forced into these situations. I mean, there are so many. There are so many times, like like when Priti Patel gave him a wedgie so hard that he sort of like tucked his pants over his head so he couldn't see for the rest of the day. And I would just countless ones where he ends up crying, sort of snot-nosed. He's that kid at nursery who would always have the two sort of candle wax. That's Matt Cock in his hands now. I mean, he just hasn't sorted it out. So, he is that snot-nosed child that we all knew growing up. Yeah, no, I mean, he's not really one for dares, but he is one for being bullied. So yeah,
Fantastic.
Mate, you've got a fuck ton of foliage in there. What you look like? Is that a weed farm in the background?
Well, it's a little from column A, a little from column B. It's also I've moved from the grotto. I was here a few weeks back when I was in the grotto, but a nice flexible arm for this isn't a casting couch. That's all I say.
Oh no, but you're from the north. Do you not mean the ghetto if you're from the north?
Yeah, exactly.
Well, the grotto. Okay, I'm going to leave that there. I have no idea what that means. So we've got another question. Do keep submitting those in the YouTube chat box. Do keep jumping onto the Zoom to chat avec moi and shoot your shot because. Richard Erskine has a question. Asking on the Zoom? No, sorry, he's submitted. Does being a Tory donor increase your chance of being a PPE millionaire? Well, of course, Richard, it's very important to define what you mean by PPE millionaire, because as we all know, PPE stands for Politics, Philosophy and Economics, the most prestigious degree in the world. Unless you ask Blojo, he thinks it's classics, but we all know classics has an incredibly high acceptance ratio, so it doesn't make it quite as good as PPE. If you've done PPE, you probably will become a millionaire. I think what you might be referring to is personal protective equipment. Don't worry, we stumbled over that as well early in the pandemic. If you donate, it depends how much you give, but I'm sure, mate, if you add me on LinkedIn, we'll have a little chat. I can palm you some pretty sweet stuff. Joshua has a question. Joshua.
Shut the fuck up, nigger. What are you doing here?
That's gracious. Have you swallowed your phone, Joshua? What the hell's happened here? Okay, I believe we have a question from Merlin Van de Bram, who asks on YouTube, are political, spiritual, or... the question is, are political, spiritual, or cultural, if you had to call it? Perhaps she means, are you political, spiritual, or cultural? I guess it kind of alludes to the previous question. I suppose I'm, philosophical, political, and economical. That's kind of ultimately how I would define myself. Living sort of as a tripartite soul, in a very similar way to Plato. And you can see that I'm very neatly linking everything from earlier in the show. Some viewers may have heard some sort of something unpleasant there from someone on the Zoom. We would like to apologize for that. There's no excuse for poor decorum on one of these. I believe we have another question on the document. Do keep submitting yours. So what's the next question? Sorry, I thought we had another question on the document. Can I sing the national anthem from Pacer 57? Yeah. Well, I mean, God, I can't remember all of the. It's God Save. Well, I mean, it's God Save the Queen, isn't it? But I sort of think God Save Blojo is more appropriate. Yeah, I think that's a much better thing to do. But to be honest, yeah, I think maybe just look that up on YouTube. I haven't got much of a singing voice. I mean, I'm very, very good at everything I do. It's not that I couldn't sing. I would be excellent. I'm very talented at anything. But yeah, no, I think, this is a serious government press conference and an opportunity for me to meet women. So let's try and sort of keep it within those parameters, if possible. Okay, chaps. So pretty much it. Wrapping up for this week. Thanks very, very, very much for... Oh, gosh, Lucy from Clapham. Crikey. Take this glass of wine and go and install yourself in the bedroom, and I will... So, chaps, let's hear of this government press conference from me, Rafe Hubris. I work for the government at a very prestigious level. Chaps, so I apologize for the bad language. I believe we've been Zoom bombed. I don't know what that means. Gosh, what a disconcerting experience. That's only me and Blojo doing that to other people. Not using that language, obviously, but, putting in rude pictures of Matt Cock in his hands. Anyway, that'll do for this week. Thanks very much for showing up. It's been classic as ever. I will see you next week. I've got something, or indeed someone to attend to. Thanks very much. Lucy, how are you? Very well. Let's head to the bedroom. Have a glass of Mirabelle. Sorry. Yeah, let's go to the bedroom where the magic happens.